because you got your booster seat.
Hold on.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. We are here on Trauma Tuesday. You think that's an appropriate?
I don't know. Like, that's a lot. Trauma Tuesday.
Yeah,
A lot.
yeah.
Like,
I
I
think we can
wonder
come up with a better name.
if you like looked at all of your days, like where the most attendance is, and maybe it has to do with the name.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
you know us. We just wing it. But would you like to introduce yourself? I mean, they know who you are, but
Yeah. So, Christina Sharp, the health education coordinator. I was the mental health specialist for 988, and this is my second day in a row.
in a row,
We're doing the thing.
pay the lady.
I know Women's Wednesday's tomorrow too. So.
I know.
Women's Wednesday is tomorrow. This might be where you belong, Christina. I mean, I'm just saying.
There's no room. You know how
No,
much I'm a small person. I need
no,
lots of room, and y'all don't have room
no.
up here for me.
You are a huge person. Flamingo. Yeah.
Talk about that business.
You didn't have to agree with me.
I mean it in like no. But yeah, we are here to you know, each one deals with a different topic of mental health.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's very important that we get this opportunity. You know, I'm just blessed to like be a part of like anything. You know, you and Katie did a great job yesterday. I do have to say that. I mean, and I'm not just being nice. You know, you all did a great job. You know, I still ain't listened to it, but nah, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Y'all did an amazing job, you know, and I really appreciate it because you know we try. I don't want to be on here every single time that you know what I mean. Like I mean I tell my story 100 times over, you know, like so I'm just happy that we got individuals who are ready to come on here
Yeah.
and you know just be vulnerable just for you know a little bit.
Yeah. And like it sucks because everybody has trauma, but it seems like the people with the hardest stories, like that's the glue that bonds people together.
Definitely
Like when you know somebody has been through something, it's easier to relate to
to
them,
relate.
to communicate with them. Like it brings everybody down to earth. Like everybody's human and everybody's gone through some shit,
Yeah.
and it is what it is.
Yeah, you know, and I feel like you know most of our audience are people that have you know most of them are in recovery or they're trying to you know they're thinking about recovering and you know when I see a person that's struggling I always think like I you know I wonder what happened
Mhm.
you know because I think back to my trauma that's kind of where I got stuck at you know that's kind of where I just didn't have no tools in my toolbox.
Mhm.
You know, I didn't have not even the awareness of actually what was going on and how I avoided it. You know, the trauma responses.
Mhm.
You know, there like so many things go into because a couple weeks ago, Janet asked a good question about, well, how does a person know if they've had trauma?
Mhm.
You know, and I've been thinking about that. Like, how do you tell a person? You know, like that was probably a traumatic event in your life.
Mhm. But I think that the one of the problem is we grow up with trauma,
Oh, for
so it's
sure.
normal.
Yeah.
It can be generational trauma, it can be situational trauma,
Hmm.
community trauma.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things that happen in communities that's just life. It's normal.
Yeah.
So we don't think this is not normal. And it's when we like leave that area or see something better. And sometimes that can be just like such a shock to our nervous system that it's like the calm becomes our chaos.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know how to handle it.
Yeah,
So we create chaos in the calm.
definitely.
So like it's just like a constant cycle for people who don't know how to handle anything.
Yeah. I mean, just the awareness alone.
Hmm.
You know, like there's a lot of things that came to light in my own life. You know, it was like, you know what, that wasn't right.
Yeah.
You know, like I put it, I tried to put it in a positive place where it made me feel better.
Hmm.
But when in actuality, it really, you know, it really, really bothered me, and it I probably lashed out, you know, because of the results of how I handled it at the time.
Yeah. But that's a trauma response in itself.
Yeah.
Like taking something serious and minimizing it and making a joke out of it. Like that's a very I don't want to say generic, but that's a trauma response we see a lot. Like we make fun of ourselves
Yeah.
and instead of just dealing with it and being like, that sucked. Like that should not have happened to me.
I think natives are like the worst at it. You know, like
Yeah.
because everything's a joke. Like,
Yeah. Like, oh, that's just life.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you know, and you know, I think it helps ease, you know, maybe what a person's going through to make sense to them,
Hmm.
because you know, like, and I know there's just a lot of things in native communities, and not just native communities, like just, you know, in general, like you know, like these are sometimes there's some hard subjects to talk about,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and I remember being a young guy around El Reno, and you know, I remember me and my friends casting our judgment on people, like if you were a pedophile,
Hmm.
like we would hunt you down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we would take it up on ourselves
Hmm.
to like
Be Batman.
yeah, but like the worst Batman, you know, like if Joker had on a Batman suit, you know, like we would, you know, we would really like try to hurt people.
Hmm.
You know, I was just thinking about that the other day, you know, and just like wow, like, you know, like of course you don't want that in your community.
Hmm.
You know, what the things that we were targeting people for. But I mean, at the time it felt like we were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, like we weren't just protecting our loved ones, we were protecting the whole community.
Hmm.
You know, and a lot of people did, you know, they responded like thank you.
Yeah.
You know, like so it for a long time it felt like we did the right thing.
Hmm.
Until, you know, I get older and I see that there is a way to handle these things, you know, because did we stop what actually that person was doing? No, they just found another way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when actuality, you know, there are people that are actually hired to do those types of things
Hmm.
and take them to jail, or you know what I mean? Like that's where they probably could have gotten help at.
Hmm.
But we saw fit to like, you know, we always want that instant gratification.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, we weren't we felt like we were doing the right thing, but I mean, when actuality, I can't even imagine the karma we were creating for ourselves.
Hmm. And like the trauma you caused yourself.
Yeah, for sure, because we were ruthless, you know, at one time.
Yeah.
You know, me and my group of friends, like we were ruthless. Like like it was crazy, you
Yeah.
know. So but you know, I thought it was a great, you know, because I was thinking, you know, we want to talk about trauma,
Hmm.
but we don't want to just want to get on here and like dig up people's,
Hmm.
you know, things that they've been through. I thought it was it would be great if we could have a mental health specialist as Christina, you know, to come on here and maybe talk about some coping and maybe even a solution as to, you know, what's the healthy way of going about these things.
Yeah. Well, and I like a lot of substance abuse and any kind of disorder thinking, it starts with some kind of trauma.
Trauma, yeah.
Like we use those trauma responses
Hmm.
to not deal with the pain.
Definitely.
And like I'm really big into like somatic therapy and like you store your trauma places. And it's crazy how that has shown up in people.
Hmm.
Like when there's things you can find on Google, like where trauma is stored, and like your hips store a lot of trauma. If you have like headaches, sometimes you can have like visual flashbacks and stuff like that. So it's crazy that like your body stores that trauma, but then like what do we do with it?
Yeah.
Like meditation is such a huge thing. And that's Katie and I brought that up over and over yesterday, just being still. And like something that I do is like body scan.
Hmm.
So you just like close your eyes and start from the top of your head and like go all the way down and just like think of each body part. And if you just focus on your body and remove distractions, you can like sense where that tightness is and like breathing through that. Um, I think that's a great tool to
Yeah.
use. And it's nothing like you don't have to go somewhere. You don't have to pay somebody. Because I think that's the other thing. Like there's so many people that are traumatized with no access. So
Yeah.
what do? Like we tell them like go see a counselor, go see a therapist, but that's not a
Get in line.
reality.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Like I mean, we know that IHS has some amazing therapists,
Hmm.
but they're like a 5-person team.
Yeah.
So giving people like actual tools that you can use. Another thing that I do is like reframe your thoughts. So I'm just gonna like shout out right here. So like something that I created, and if anybody wants this, so this is our In My Healing Era journal, and it kind of goes through all of the trauma responses and everything. I just got caught on it. It's yeah. So like going through here, like reframing your thoughts. And I think identifying the triggers is so important for us.
Definitely.
And that's like the biggest thing. Like no matter who I'm working with, if it's like kids or even adults, like sometimes they don't even know what's triggering them. So I think that's like the first thing that we have to start with is like what's our triggers? Like where are we getting the most upset at?
Yeah.
And that's something that is discussed like during the 12 steps and Wellbriety and stuff is like understanding that it might be that bar or that person or financial troubles. Like a big trauma for me is financial. So like when I like around holidays and stuff, like I have a huge trauma response from growing up with that financial insecurity. So understanding that is a big deal for me. And I have to tell people like it's not that I don't like the holidays. Like it's just there's so many instances
Yeah.
of growing up without a Christmas or not
Mhm.
having a Thanksgiving dinner because there wasn't money for that.
Yeah.
So that's a huge trigger for myself. Having to just step back and be like, I'm okay. Like I'm okay. My kids are okay. It'll be okay. And then definitely like tracking those things, understanding like those times of years or those instances. Uh, our body remembers things like whether we
Yes.
know it or not, like certain times of the years, like if somebody passed away or, um, like your sobriety date. Because usually, like, there's a big turn that all of a sudden you're like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
trauma right there.
Feelings, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can like start to see where the patterns are at. So
Yeah.
definitely like recognizing that and being able to say, this is just a bad time for me. And it's okay to like step back and um, just be by yourself a little bit and recalibrate. Uh, and definitely like coping skills. But I think that sometimes we say coping skills, but are we really coping, or are we just trying to busy ourselves?
Yeah, like trying to take your mind off of.
Right, right. So, are we coping or are we healing? Because I think that those are two things that get mixed up a lot.
Yeah.
Um, because I know that people say, "Well, I'm coping with it by removing myself," which is fine in that moment, but are you ruining that relationship with that person?
Yeah.
Are you not helping yourself grow because you're not being uncomfortable? So I think it's also having the support system of somebody saying, like, that's not healthy. You're not doing anything
Yeah.
but just ignoring the problem. And like, it's just trauma is so tricky for people.
It is.
And like, what works for me isn't going to work for you.
Definitely.
And I think that's a big thing too. We have all these YouTube videos. Like, there's so many things you can find on YouTube. You can find meditation, you can find body scan, you can find trauma release. Um, but you have to just keep trying until you find something and stick with it too. It takes 21 days to make a habit. So if you can do something for 21 days, if you can meditate, if you can be still, if you can just work through things, I think that's a huge thing. It's just to start. But I mean, what do you feel like helps with going through some of that trauma?
Like with me, I think of like my growth. Like am I in a good place mentally to like actually deal with these things?
Hmm.
Like what we were talking about earlier. You know, I finally got honest with myself about, something that happened to me whenever I was a kid,
Hmm.
and how I, instead of like actually talking about it like what it actually was, I put it a different way that made me feel better.
Hmm.
And I thought if somebody did that to my kid, like there'd be a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
There'd be a lot of trouble if somebody did what happened to me.
Hmm.
So, I think like I'm just now in a place mentally that I can finally bring these things to the table.
Hmm.
I can finally, and not like just like bam, this is what happened.
Hmm.
Now everybody else deal with it.
Yeah.
Like
Because I think
now,
that's the other thing too. Like, we have people that are like, well, I'm triggered, so you have to change
yeah,
your environment. You have to change what you're doing, but I don't have to change. And I think
yeah,
that's like the selfish, or like the me generation of like, I'm triggered, so you change for me. You make me
yeah,
comfortable.
yeah,
But like, we're not challenging that.
yeah. So I feel like that's where I'm getting in. Like I'm finally getting to a comfortable place where um I don't just feel shameful.
Hmm.
I want to bring awareness to it because I don't want it to happen to anybody else.
Yeah.
I don't want any other kid to feel the way that I did. So it's like, I'm finally able to understand like like it really impacted my life, but to a point where I know it probably had something to do with the way that I viewed women in my relationships
Hmm.
as an adult.
Yeah.
It happened to me whenever I was a kid, but it probably, had something to do with the way that I treated women, the way that I thought about women,
Hmm.
the responses I got when I felt triggered,
Yeah.
and so I think it's just the awareness,
Hmm.
like this is something that I really need to work on.
Yeah. Do you feel better, like, talking about it, like letting people know?
I do, and it wasn't until this year.
Yeah.
It wasn't until recently, like Natalie was probably the first person I ever told.
Hmm.
And it was once I said it though, it was like I felt so much better.
Yeah, like that is a trauma release.
Yeah.
Verbally just like regurgitating that and getting it out. And sometimes like the hardest things to say out loud are like the things that need to be released the most.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the hardest thing for me. Honestly, the most life-changing thing for me was the Mending Broken Hearts. Like
Yeah.
that was
Deep. Yeah.
yeah, like taking a 12-week course and then like 3 days of that and then
Yeah.
having to like go through all like trauma. That's all trauma.
Yeah.
And that was so life-changing for me. Like I still have all of my pages upon pages upon pages. Like we were given that like hour, free write
Yeah.
hour, and like I was still going and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Because I never like stopped and thought about all of the stuff I went through that wasn't okay, that challenged me and changed me. And I mean, I'm glad that I'm the person I am today because I feel like I can help so many people because of the trauma I went through. So I'm like, I can
Definitely.
relate. I know what you're going through. I know what you're feeling. But like when you put it all on paper or you're telling somebody, it's all of a sudden like,
Like there's magic in that or
yeah,
something.
yeah. Like, yes, I went through that, but it made me stronger. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a strong person because of that.
You know, I like what Tatum said about about being a victim,
Hmm.
and then there, she was a victim, and now she realizes that she was a survivor.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought that was like that made so much sense to me.
Hmm.
As to because in recovery they say victims never get sober and neither do tough guys.
Yeah. Hmm.
A victim, it's never going to be their fault. And, and in some instances I can see,
Hmm.
where they can apply that like it's, it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
But
But your response is your fault. And
yeah,
I think that's a thing. Like,
yeah,
what happened to you was not your fault, but your response every single day after that and how you
yeah,
treat other people and how you wake up in the morning, that is your choice. That is
definitely.
your fault.
I always say 10% of my life was what happened to me. The other 90% was how I responded.
Hmm.
And that, like, to me, that sums me up perfectly. I let these, I had so many different things happen in my life. You know, uh, you know, like I would have to say, like, the thing that really changed my life was, the gun accident. Where I lost my eye.
Hmm.
Like I was 12 years old, and like, I mean, it just completely. I mean, I wasn't like the most outstanding little kid, little sixth grader. I was kind of rotten,
Hmm.
but it seemed like people treated me like I was just so completely different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like either they felt sorry for me, which more than likely they felt sorry for me.
Hmm.
But I did everything else that a regular kid would do.
Hmm.
I played football, baseball, basketball. Like
Yeah.
I just kept on going, like nothing happened.
Hmm.
But then it was like the people around me were like treating me like everybody felt sorry for me.
Hmm.
And I knew how to take advantage of that.
Yeah. You play the system.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And what what that created was nobody ever told me no.
Yeah.
Nobody. Like, and I didn't realize that until I got into rehab.
Hmm.
And one of my friends, Jen, she worked at the facility, and she's like telling me like, no, we're not going to do that. And like it drove me crazy that she's telling me no. Like,
Hmm.
I've been finessing you this whole time. Like, how can you tell me no?
Did you feel like a kid again?
Yes, I did.
Like, oh, how dare you?
Like, I was like, I could not believe she was telling me no.
Yeah.
And it was just like just that awareness, like, whoa, bro, like you're 40, 41 years old.
Hmm.
Like, and I talked to my sponsor about it, and he was like, does anybody tell you no? And I was like, no. Like, Like I always get my way. Like I'm not like a hard person to please, but because I mean, I try to treat people so good,
Mhm.
and then I realize like I'm self-seeking when I do that
I was about to ask you, like, do you feel like you treat people good until they
because
start
I want
giving?
something. Yeah,
Yeah, and then
because
you're
I'm
like,
expecting something,
mhm,
and that was like an old, I'm not in survival mode no more. I don't need to do that.
yeah,
Whereas before, in my addiction, that was probably the only reason why I was good to people
mhm,
is because I knew down the road I was gonna need you
yeah,
for $5 to help me get that bottle of vodka.
mhm,
You know, like
yeah,
like I'm gonna do all this work, so whenever it comes to that point, and I really need you, like
yeah. And
so
I can go back and be like, remember when I did this?
yeah,
Remember when I did
yeah,
this? Remember whose couch you slept
yeah.
on? Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I was a self seeker,
mhm,
so I mean, yeah, there's a lot of instances where I'm realizing, like, okay, like one of my nephews was asking me, like, because for a long time I treated him like he was my son,
mhm,
because he was in this troubled time in his life. His mom and dad are in their addiction, and it was like, then he ended up losing his mom, and dad's still out there. He's living with his sisters. Their help raising him. And he asked me one day, like, what are you to me?
mhm,
Like, like, what are you to me? We're not blood related at all.
mhm,
And I'm like, you know what? I'm just a guy that wants to see you make it.
mhm,
Like that unconditional love. Like that's where I'm starting to see like the change in how I view things. How I'm good to people because that's what a person deserves.
mhm,
They don't need me like as soon as they come in, like, what do they got that I want?
yeah,
Like I treat people the way that I want to be treated.
mhm. And I think, like, it's hard to realize that we're in that thought pattern
Yeah.
until we step back and we're like, why don't I have lasting relationships with people? Like, what's the common factor here? And that's like a question I ask people all the time. Like, it's a tough question and it's going to piss somebody off.
Yeah.
But like, really, if every time you come in and talk to me, there's always an issue, what's the common factor?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing to, like, either help or hinder that
Yeah.
relationship? Because it takes two people. So they may have done something, but what did you do?
Yeah,
What was
that's
your
always going to
response?
be the response.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's hard. It's so hard to look in the mirror and be like, "I'm not perfect."
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Some
I
BS.
honestly, I think that is something that it just comes with age. Like, eventually, you're just like done with the nonsense, and you
Yeah.
have to be like, "Okay, I'm not perfect. I don't have to be perfect."
Yeah.
And I'm going to make a better connection with somebody or relate with somebody if I can say, "I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm I apologize. I'm sorry," and actually change that behavior.
I asked my sponsor. He asked me one time, like, what's going on with this situation or that situation, and because we when we get to talk, I tell him little tidbits of this and that, and
Mhm,
he asked me, like I'm like, man, this dude does not like me. Like I've never done anything to him, you
mhm.
know, uh, but for some reason, like he does not like me.
Yeah.
And his first response was, "Well, how can you make that better?"
Mhm.
Like, why are you putting this all off on him?
Yeah.
Like you have just as much opportunity as he does,
Mhm.
but you got to keep your side of the street clean.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to like start stacking up all this BS
Mhm.
because he feels some type of way.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to respond to that. Like you don't have to, be good to him and see how that changes.
Mhm.
The way that things are, the way that things are playing out, and I feel like I've really been doing that, and it leaves me in a good mental place.
Yeah.
You know, where I'm not thinking like, okay, what's it gonna be today?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like what, like what am I gonna have to say? Like, do I, you know what I mean? Like, and it was getting bad for a little while, but then I feel like he really made me think about, my actions. I don't have any control. All my business, my business stops at my nose.
Hmm.
You know, so therefore, I don't get to put everything on them and treat them like they have control of this situation.
Hmm.
I can be good to people no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about being in recovery is like you get to be that light sometimes.
Hmm.
And I think it's very important, that I stay positive no matter what.
Hmm.
No matter what. And when I'm able to do that, like all the negative things, like they slowly start fading away.
Yeah.
And usually what I'm left dealing with is just thinking about my trauma.
Hmm.
So I mean, coping skills, like I like what you said about the body scan. I used to deal with anxiety, not as I get it at night every once in a while before I'm about to go to bed.
Yeah. When everything hits you and it's
Yeah,
quiet, when it's
yeah,
quiet and you're
yeah.
still, yeah, yeah. It's amazing how that works.
But like during the day, we should do this touch, taste, feel.
Yeah, your five senses.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do the five senses. What do you see? What do you taste? What do you hear?
Hmm.
Like, what do you feel? Like the texture of everything, or
Yeah.
you know, am I in a safe place? Like all these different things. So that really helped. That really helped. I learned that in treatment,
Hmm.
and now I just feel like I'm aware of my trauma responses now.
Hmm.
Like the things that used to work for me. I was talking about spiritual principles earlier. Now that I can apply those things to my life, like actually like see them at work,
Hmm.
it's given me this awareness now of my peace.
Hmm.
And if I ain't got anything, I got peace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, because of that, I'm willing to hold on to that at all costs.
Hmm. So, have you heard of ACEs before?
I've just a few times.
So, ACEs is like the adverse child experience, and we can like go back and look, and the higher our ACE score, the higher that we're probably going to have like substance abuse or even like cancer, heart disease, because that's all trauma stored.
Yeah, yeah, stored.
So I'm going to read off 10 of these,
Okay.
and then you don't have to say yes or no. Just
Do the put a finger
yeah,
down.
put the finger
Be like-
challenge
Be-
and see like what your number is on
Okay.
some of these, and then
So whenever it's something that
if it's a yes, you're
then I
just
hope.
gonna
Okay.
yeah, and you don't have to tell us. Just
I'll-
keep it.
I
So
ain't
if anybody
scared.
out there's
I
watching,
ain't scared. I ain't scared.
okay.
First question. Never mind.
Number one. Did you feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, or had no one to protect or take care of you? Did you lose a parent through divorce, abandonment, death, or another reason? Did you live with anyone who was depressed, mentally ill, or attempted suicide? Did you live with someone who had a problem with drinking, using drugs, including prescription drugs? Did your parents or adults in your home ever hit, punch, beat, or threaten to harm each other or you? Did you live with anyone who went to jail or prison? Did a parent or adult in your home ever swear at you, insult you, or put you down? Did a parent or adult in your home ever hit, beat, kick, or physically hurt you in any way? Did you feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were special? And did you experience unwanted sexual contact? So your score is the total number of yes responses.
Mine's all 10. I knew it. Yeah, I knew it was gonna be one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Undefeated.
Yeah.
Perfect score.
But you know, I feel like at one time when I got into, you know, recovery, uh because the sexual abuse thing was such a hard topic for people to talk about.
Mhm. Well, and I feel like that's part of it is because even though it happened to us and we still feel guilty like we did it.
Yes, yes.
Like, and I think that's the issue with being a victim of sexual abuse. It's that there is so much guilt and shame that, like, logically we know it was not our fault,
Yeah.
but like it hurts us so deep inside
That
that no matter what, it's like that guilt, that shame. What did I do? What did I wear? How did I make this person do this to me?
yeah.
And I feel like sexual abuse is one of the hardest traumas to process and go through. And it hurts relationships with so many people, even with ourselves, because
Definitely.
we learn to not trust ourselves.
Yeah. I once you started reading off the questions, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna probably score all 10 of these. But you know, if I just keep those things in,
Hmm.
it's gonna keep doing what it's been doing to me.
Yeah.
You know, so I find relief. You know, you know, like something magical about either writing it down or talking to somebody about it. I mean, I've explained my situation, and I realize that I'm not the only one.
Do you feel like you are like a more responsive or observant parent because of some of the things that
Definitely,
happened?
definitely,
Like you're more aware, situationally aware of of things that your kids have been through or
for sure,
may have been through.
for sure. I mean, and it's almost as if maybe I feel like you know, because I had kids with three different women. Uh, one of them, I feel like she went through some sort of trauma herself. So like she's really like she really looked out, you know, for our kids, you know,
Hmm.
because of the situation they were in.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm so grateful for that.
Hmm.
You know, not that she went through her trauma, but because that was her trauma response, is that she didn't want it to happen to anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I think about you know, when I was in treatment, they asked everybody in the room who all here has dealt with sexual trauma. There's probably about 20 to 25 people in the room, and everybody raised their hand
Hmm.
except me. You know, because it was just something that I'd never told anybody. I never, you know, it was just something that I just dug, you know, I just put it away, you know. I it was like I didn't know how to process it, but all I knew was that it was wrong.
Hmm.
So it just seemed like, you know, I'm finally getting, like I was saying, getting to that headspace where I feel like it has to be addressed for me.
Hmm.
You know, I still see the lady.
Yeah.
You know, I still see the lady around town.
Hmm.
You know, and it's just kind of like when she sees me, she like freezes, like she jumps when she sees me,
Hmm.
because I know she does not want to see. You know, she doesn't want to make eye contact, like, you know, because I've always noticed that about her.
Hmm.
And you know, it's just one of those things, like I know if I don't deal with it, then it's gonna keep bothering me the way I've let it all these years.
Hmm.
So I mean, just being, I think just being open to whatever whatever way I got to deal with it, like whatever I got to do to help myself heal.
Mhm.
You know, I'm tired of being a victim.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be a victim no more. You know, I'm ready to be a survivor.
Mhm.
And because you know, for a long time, I honestly thought like men just do that to girls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I wouldn't even look as like my situation as something that women did to boys.
But I think that's like the persona is like women are the protector. Like
Yeah.
you tell kids all the time, like if you are not safe, go find a mom, go find a female
Yeah.
because they're not usually portrayed as the predator. But unfortunately, like all people go through things, and it doesn't matter what your gender is or how you identify yourself. Like anybody can be a predator because of the trauma that they've been through.
Yeah.
But it's so hard, especially for men, to come forward and say, I was sexually abused, because you don't want to be seen as weak. You don't want to be seen as the victim. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to be seen as being taken advantage of. Um, and it's hard to tell somebody like that woman
Yeah.
did this to me, because just as much as it's hard for people to side with the female, it's harder to say that a female was a predator.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you hardly ever see that on the news or anything, unless it's like a teacher or something like
Yeah, yeah.
it happens all the time. And um, even I think that there's so much sexual pressure put on boys. I'm going to say boys
Yeah.
to like go sow your oats, go lose your virginity, do it now, get it out of your system before marriage. And so it's like when they have a sexual relationship with a female, even if it's an older female, it's just like, I mean, boys will be boys.
Yeah, yeah.
But
That's what it summed up to.
like how is that boy going to be a husband or a partner if he is growing up learning that what happened to him was okay and it's normal? It's not normal.
Yeah,
So like we have to make it normal that sexual deviancy is not normal.
definitely. I mean, you know, and I think, you know, there's you know, the boarding school era for natives.
Mhm.
You know, I think that was a very traumatic very traumatic time for my people.
Mhm.
You know, in the Wellbriety book, it talks about how trauma can be passed down. It like through your DNA.
Yeah, like 7 generations.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know that generational trauma,
Mhm.
and I feel like, you know, because I don't know if, you know, we just, I know back in the day what my ancestors, you know, the way they lived, and you know how proper they kept everything. You know, like most of the time, young boys and young girls wouldn't even talk.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like that's how separate that, like, you know, that's how sacred we kept our women.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like once the boarding school era came, then it seemed like all these different traumas that happened in boarding school, you know, after they graduated, they all had to come home.
Mhm.
And you know, and I'm not just saying that's, you know, like oh, it's their fault, you know, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like I feel like that's where that unhealthy soil was cultivated,
Mhm.
and because of that, you know, that's where this sick forest has came from.
Yeah.
You know, that's where them unhealthy, you know, those traumatic things, like they're still being done in our communities, and there's like really nobody that, you know, we all know what the problem is,
Mhm.
you know, but I think the solution is just now like coming to the surface as to people understanding like nobody's gonna fix this for us. You
Mhm.
know, if we're not trying to maintain our own community, then who's it up to?
Yeah.
You know, who do we leave these things up to?
Mhm.
You know, I remember at one time being not long after that happened to me, then I become a little bit older teenager, and you know, we were like, you know, like probably could have ended up in prison, you know, with the way that we were handling things, you know. And for a long time, you know, I felt good about what we did to, you know, certain people because, you know, they did some horrible things, you know, to one of my friend's sisters or,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like we, but I understand now, like, when I add these spiritual principles to my life, you know, none of that makes sense. You know, none of that was right about feeling like, you know, there's other ways to protect your family,
Mhm.
you know, without having, you know, because I used to think like, man, if that ever happened to my kids, like I'll go spend the rest of my life in prison.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
like
But then now you're robbing your kids of their
yeah,
dad. Like that's
yeah,
traumatic.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like that was the way that I used to think.
Mhm.
So I mean, you know, so when a person scores on this ACEs test,
Mhm.
like what do you feel like's the right step to
I would say like definitely acknowledge, like to sit down and acknowledge, like if I said yes to any of those, like what happened and get down like exactly what happened. My score is an 8, so I'm pretty high up there. Um, and then so there's a couple things that you guys, if you scored high, having close and stable relationships with people, um, that's really important. Parents or adults who model resiliency. Uh, Identifying and cultivating a sense of purpose through faith, culture, identity. We say all the time, like, culture is
culture
prevention.
is the prevention? Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to, like, whatever that culture is for you, like, you need to, like, embrace that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and I said, I really think that the problem with America is that there is no culture in America.
Yeah.
So, like, we have all of these immigrants. So, like, I'm fully European descent. Like, this is not my land. So I don't have that tie to the land.
Yeah.
Um, and so like I don't have that sense of identity. I don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm from. I don't know my ancestors. I can't go back and say like this is where I'm from. Um, And then on the other side, we have, Native Americans, indigenous people that this is their land that was taken from them. So like we are so deculturized, and trying to find that again is so important. Going back and finding where you came from, who your family is, whether that's here or Europe or Asia or Africa, wherever it is, like we just need to find that again
Definitely.
and embrace that and be okay with that.
Yeah.
Um, and then another thing is like just having problem solving skills and regulating. There's so many kids and adults that can't regulate at all,
Man.
like 0 to 60.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that that's not taught anymore. And but it's a modeling thing. So we have to model that for people and put them yourself into that situation to be a good role model.
Definitely.
Um, and then having communities and social systems, like getting involved in your community
Yeah.
and having that good support system. That's so important, especially as we're going through this. Like, I I don't know what I would have done when I went through all of my trauma and everything if I couldn't go home to a support system.
Oh
If
yeah.
I had to sit there and try to figure it out on my own. So being able to not only have that support system, but also be able to talk to them about it
Yeah.
and that they support you back. Um, Having that safe space is so important.
You know, that's why I love my AA club here in El Reno. You know, shout out to the 506 because they help me. I mean, just the people in general. I wasn't standing up during the meeting and declaring my my trauma, but there was always somebody there at the meeting that I could pull to the side.
Hmm.
Like, look, man, this is what's going on. I don't know what to do, or how do I go about this situation. Like I finally felt uh almost like it was my responsibility to deal with things in a healthy way.
Hmm.
And then having that feeling there at that AA meeting, at that AA clubhouse, and then coming over here to Wellbriety, like I'm trying to establish that in our community with Wellbriety,
I think just to interrupt you real quick, like the Native community, because everybody knows everybody,
yeah,
it's so hard to say this traumatic thing happened to me because 9 times out of 10, everybody in that room knows
yeah,
exactly who you're talking about.
yeah,
And that is like the agreement that what's said in the meeting stays in the meeting.
yeah,
Like that is so important because like that stuff can go out and just be spread all throughout the community.
for
And
sure.
50% of the time it's going to look bad on the other person, but 50% of the time it's going to go back to the person who said it. So you never know where the community is going to side, the victim or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
I don't want
that
to say villain, but like predator.
yeah, that is like one of the, you know, it's huge. Nobody would ever feel safe
Mhm.
if they couldn't go there and talk about, what's bothering them.
Yeah.
So I love that about AA. I love that about, Wellbriety. Is we all understand that nobody hurt us more than we've hurt ourselves through substance abuse.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's what it's a room full of people that are trying to find a solution to their trauma.
Mhm.
That's where like I can talk about the things that I was talking about, and other people are going to relate
Mhm.
to what I said, and maybe even, you know, give me a good word, or
Yeah.
support me in some kind of way, and that's been like very important in my recovery.
Mhm.
So I mean, yeah, I like, you know, uh, everything that you was reading down on, I just felt like all I could think about was, 506 South Barker here in El Reno,
Mhm.
at the AA house.
Yeah.
I definitely find all those things there.
Mhm.
And not to mention, they're the second oldest group in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've been going there since I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Mhm.
And I'd stand up and be like, "Hi, my name's Billy," and they'd all go, "Hi, Barry," like. But I just feel very, very blessed that we have that house.
Mhm.
And that's what we try to model our Wellbriety group after,
Mhm.
is what they got going on over there at 506. So.
Yeah. Let's run through these comments real quick.
Oh yeah,
Start over.
gone.
David Deere said good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
C
Dave.
Dump said rugged nugget.
See, dude.
Drew Cook from Shred said great
Oh, my
content.
boy Drew.
And he said he was dropping by to say hi.
I hope you do, brother. Congratulations on working with the fire department. They need you.
That's Jason. You're mixing.
No. I
Drew
seen
too?
Drew.
What?
Drew too.
Let me go find him.
Yeah, I just seen it like the other day. He said he just started it. So hell with you, Darian. I know what the hell I'm talking about, bruh.
You don't know.
I guess you don't keep up with Drew then, huh?
Hi.
Huh.
Huh.
I just friended him the other day.
Yeah, you're his mutual friend. How's he not
Yeah.
my friend? Now I'm confused. All right. Anyway, Council on Alcoholism and Addictions of the Finger Lakes said love both of your shirts. Repressing your trauma
Thank
is so
you.
toxic. Gotta release it. Carrie tuned in from Oxford House in Shawnee. His
Oh, hey,
is
Carrie.
January 1st, 2024.
Thank you for sharing that.
Jen said hello from Billings, Montana.
Billings.
Daniel says, "Oh, sounds like one of your love languages." Could have been any point of your story.
I know, right?
Carrie says sometimes you have to just let it be okay and be there for the person, your significant other, and just love them.
Amen.
Tatum, she tagged somebody to join and view. Carrie also said, but also you have to love yourself in order to help the other person, because if you don't love yourself, how can you love someone else?
Mhm.
Self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care is the most important care.
And my
If you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of nobody else.
you can't what was Belinda saying? Can't fill somebody else's cup if yours has holes in it or whatever.
Yeah, whatever to me.
But and then my aunt Shirlene says, excellent topic. My parents were divorced for this very reason. My dad brought this type of abuse into our home, and it didn't happen to all of us, but definitely traumatized the entire family until my mom literally sent us on a bus overnight, and healing for our family began. Years later, I learned my dad was also abused the same way by his dad. This topic is so important to
Mhm.
speak on. And then Lisa says she's tuning in from Southampton, Shampton.
Shampton.
Mhm.
Shampton. Well, thank you for all the all the comments. I mean, I feel like it's, we were trying to think of a better, or I was trying to, like, should it be called Trauma Tuesday? Like,
Yeah. But I think it's important to recognize that trauma, because it has to start somewhere. And like, why not here on the culture couch?
yeah, why not?
Might as well.
Might as well. And because if it was me and Darian, we'd just be
Making jokes.
making jokes about making fun of each other the whole
Someone's gonna have to get together up here.
time. Yeah.
We laugh through the
To
pain.
pull it in.
Yeah.
Pull
Bring
it
it back.
in.
Bring it back. Center. Back. Ground yourself.
But yeah, we appreciate you coming up here. You've been doing an outstanding job. I mean, I don't think Christina gets enough credit for what she does for, our people. Like, and I think it's awesome. You were my daughter's teacher.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool,
Full circle.
So I mean, I think just being a teacher in itself, like that, you got to be a whole different kind of person. You know what I mean? To not thump some kids in the head.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of patience. That's why I love you guys so much.
Yeah. It's like
Whenever
back
I
in
think-
school.
Whenever I think, like, can I go back to teaching? I just come up here and I'm like, no, I'm good. I got tour. Now I'm gonna take
Thumping
a-
us in the head.
no rec time.
Well, we always appreciate what you do. And you've been doing, I feel like one of these afternoon sessions could be yours. I mean,
Yeah.
this is kind of what you do. I mean,
This is what I do. I love mental health. No, it's
who doesn't?
yeah. I appreciate you guys though. It's definitely like this fills my cup. So I'm glad to be here and speak the good word and speak my truth, and just whatever I say, I hope it helps somebody. So
Definitely. I mean, I feel like just the subject in itself is a tough, trauma, and like I was telling Darian, or when I came down there to talk to you about it, like I don't want to like bring up these things and then not give them some kind of coping skill or some kind of, solution,
mhm.
or maybe just an encouraging word to get them on track
Yeah.
to self-care.
Yeah.
And we can't preach it enough, is that self-care is the most important care. So
Yeah.
just happy I get to be here today.
Me too.
Very, very fortunate. So is that it, producer?
Yeah, I mean, we could take the camera outside and watch yoga stretch.
Oh,
Yoga.
yeah.
Watch
Well, I guess
Mingo
we'll go
stretch.
make fun of Mingo. He's
Yeah.
doing yoga in the other room.
Get a
Yeah.
microphone
Did he
next.
have people actually came?
I think so.
Yeah.
Bob.
Well, we will see you in the morning.
Mhm.
Thank you again, Christina, for coming on.
Yeah, of
We
course.
really, really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And we will see you in the morning. I hope.